So last week we talked about self nature and how it wants to destroy you, how it wants to take you out. We also discussed that it's brought about because of our fallen nature, that when Adam and Eve were in the garden and they had unity with God and each other, self didn't really exist. People mostly thought about themselves as an us, as we. And we want to be able to translate that into the Renew You program because we need to be able to see that each of us is a part of a body, that we're part of a community, and what impacts one person impacts the other person. So the thought is that when we're going about our lives, whether it's nutritionally, emotionally, spiritually, exercise wise, that we're not just thinking about ourselves, but we're thinking, how is my behavior? How is my life going to impact other people? And we also looked at an overview of what we wanted to accomplish in this program, how we didn't want it to be about me. We talked about how we wanted to be able to look at what our particular defects were, what we needed to perfect in ourselves. And this week I want to look at how we are in the emotional arena and in terms of thinking about who we are as people, because I believe to successfully do good self-care, practice good nutrition, that we need to not only just address our nutrition, our ability to exercise, our ability to be spiritual, we have to address our emotions. It's a key component of what causes people to be for the wrong reasons. And so let's look at that for a minute. Here we are, we go through life, we're building, we're achieving, we're in relationships, and we're being. And most people posit that being word because they work, they achieve, but to be, now that's a different question. Many of us don't really understand what it means to simply just to be able to be. So I want you to be thinking about that, me as a human being. Who am I? So here we are, we're going through life. We're going to always hit some sort of snag, some sort of problem, some sort of crisis, some sort of disturbance. What's going to happen to you when you meet that crisis, problem, or disturbance? Most people will have a choice of they will move towards the disturbance, move towards the pain, or they will very quickly move away from the pain. For some reason, as human beings, we have an inability to be able to sit with discomfort. We want to quickly stop that. We want to interrupt it. We want to split off from it, numb out from it. So many of us, when we hit some type of crisis in our life, will end up splitting off. But when you turn away from pain, you're going to also be turning towards something. And what do you suppose that something is? You're going to turn towards the self. And so now the self is going to become more self-reliant and it has to figure out how it's going to take care of itself. The last week said in Romans 3:17 that nothing good lives in the flesh. So Joyce Meyer says the flesh is stupid. So how can we count on it to tell us what to do? But we do count on our flesh. And these are some of the things that we do. We turn to compulsive escape. We watch too much TV. We spend too much time on Facebook. We eat. We grade. We get into books. We get into workaholism. Some people get into sexual relationships that are extremely inappropriate. So once we get into these compulsive escapes, those compulsions, the result of those are going to be fear, anger, shame, and guilt. So here we have a problem. We have some crisis. We've avoided it. Now we've turned from the crisis, from the problem, to something else to avoid the previous crisis. Now we created another crisis because now we feel ashamed of ourselves. We feel upset with ourselves. And I think you can identify with this because how many times in your quest for becoming good at self-care, you don't treat yourself well in one area and then you beat yourself up. The most typical thing would be when you eat that something that you think you shouldn't have eaten. After you eat it, you're mad at yourself, you're angry at yourself, you feel a lot of shame. A lot of guilt, you want to hide it, you don't want to talk about it. Okay, so whatever you avoid, you end up storing that, and that's what you store becomes internal tension. And that tension kind of rides with you. And so once these feelings of tension begin to mount and compound in their attitude because the problem, the crisis, the disturbance has not been dealt with, we begin to feel a relational distance from others and from God as well. We quit talking. We distance ourselves. We quit feeling. We're not going to trust somebody. And we don't trust ourselves. So how can we trust anybody else? So once we stop talking, trusting, feeling, then there's an extreme relational distance between us, other people, and God. And now we feel very isolated. We're very alone. Isn't that where the enemy would have you to be? Extremely isolated. Alone, a target, nobody to stand beside you. Well, to heal from this, what do? We meet that problem, that pain, that crisis, that disturbance, whatever it is, and when we meet it, rather than moving away from the pain, healthy people learn to move toward the pain, to be present with it, not to numb out, not to get rid of it. They learn to sit with the discomfort, and we talked about this in last night's group, learning to be present, practicing God's presence. But to practice God's presence, we also have to practice being present. So we accept the pain as a part of life, that we're going to have tribulations at times. My favorite saying is, we're not getting out of here alive. So if that's true, and we're going to have pain and we're going to have suffering, why don't we learn to do something about the pain and suffering, meaning mainly just moving toward it, being present to it. I always tell people in Mercy House, just reach out a hand, shake it, say hello, pain, nice to meet you, tell me about yourself. I believe the tension that we feel inside there bears a very precious gift to us. It's ready to tell. It has its story. It wants to be told. It wants to be shared. So as we process the pain, rather than numbing out, rather than avoiding it, we end up learning how to resolve that pain. And we only can resolve it as we confront it. So we confront that pain, we find some resolution to it if we can. If we can't find a resolution, we accept that that happened to us. We release it. We don't hang on to it. Many times we hang on to our pain as a way to feel that we're in control. We decide we're not going to trust anybody. We're not going to put ourselves out there. We're not going to risk. And we feel safe that way. But essentially what we've done is walled up ourselves in our pain. So we can learn to grow through these experiences. Pain is not the worst thing that can happen to us in the world. Pain, suffering teach us. They make us into something. They cause us to move into our being, not to move outside of ourselves to find relief somewhere else. Remember last week we talked about externalizing. We externalize our issues onto our weight, onto the number on the scale. Food now is the problem, so those are the things that we have to control. Those are the things that move you away from this person who is called a being. So once that being learns to be, learns to find itself, accept itself, be present to itself, that being now is in a good position to practice God's presence as well. That being isn't working alone thinking they have to figure out all the answers. They have a God that's present in their lives, and that God they can turn to, and He can give them grace, and He can give them help. And once we've learned through the pain that we have, we can then learn to minister out of that pain. And that's where pain becomes very refined and very precious. Because out of my pain, I can minister to you. The comfort that I've known, perhaps I'll be able to share with someone else. So as your challenge for the week, what I would like you to consider is, I want you to look, just do a little sweep back in your life. And some of us don't have to sweep very far back. I want you to think of one particular pain, one particular problem, some crisis, some disturbance that you refused to sit with, you just ignored, You tucked it away, you numbed out, you distracted yourself by work, you ate it away, and I want you to confront that. I want you to purposely bring up that pain, write it out. This is my pain. It could be something that happened to you that you refuse to address because it hurt you so much. I want you to sit with it. I want you to be present inside your body. I want you to kind of close your eyes, breathe. What does that pain feel like inside your body? Are you numb? Are you tense somewhere? Are you feeling pressure? Does your heart kind of hurt? And then I want you to say to yourself, okay, this is what pain feels like. Then I want you to ask God, I want you to invite Him into that pain. Invite Him into that place of suffering. And think about what Psalm 91 said. It says that we can be in that secret place of the Most High where we can be a spectator watching what He does. He can deliver us. He can give us comfort if we will allow Him into that place that we protected. Remember, protected pain ends up becoming anxiety, depression, addiction. We want to be able to get rid of the pain that we have. So your challenge, what pain have you avoided in just one step? Your step might just be saying, I will sit and be present to the pain. I may not be able to resolve it. It may take me a long time, but at least I will own what it is and I will be present to it and let it speak to me, let it tell its message to me. If you do that, that's when you will be renewed. That is how you could really imagine yourself as a person renewed.